Crumbers. Good morning, world. Happy Sunday. Good morning. If you're joining me this morning, it is Stir Up Sunday and we're going to be making a Christmas cake. Yay! As usual, we're just going to give everybody a couple of minutes to join us. So wherever you are in the world, just let me know. It's really lovely to hear. I'm getting people from Canada, Australia, and the States, and Ireland, and Spain, all over. I love finding out where you guys are, as well as everybody here in the UK. If you're joining for the first time, I'm Lou. I am the host, I guess. I keep saying that, or the writer of Crumbs and Corkscrews, and you're either joining us on the Facebook page, the Facebook group, we do have one of those, and or either on the YouTube channel. So wherever you are, good morning and welcome to what I can tell you on a weather check is a almost clear blue sunny skies here in the middle of the Cotswolds. There's these beautiful wispy clouds that I can see out of the window here, which actually it feels a bit snowy and a bit Christmassy. So perfect for getting us started on the Christmas cake today. So yeah, wherever you are, let me know. I can see you all joining. Hi everyone. We've just got a few seconds before we've counted down and we get into everything. So if you guys have been following, or anybody is out there making their Christmas cake as well, last night you may have soaked your fruit. You don't have to do that, but you may have done it. So they might be waiting in a big bowl for you. And we've got all the rest of the ingredients together. So, right, let's get going, shall we? We're going to make then today on Stir Up Sunday, which I'll explain what is to you guys. We're going to make a traditional Christmas fruitcake, and we're making it now ahead so we can feed it over the next couple of weeks and then ice it just before Christmas, ice and decorate it just before Christmas, and then we'll be all ready and have this beautiful, unctuous, amazing smelling Christmas cake. Ready for December and Christmas. And we're going to be making a 6-inch round cake, which is because it's just Ian and myself here for Christmas this year with the whole pandemic thing going on. So we're just having a small one here, but you can easily scale up this recipe, and I will pop some information on how to do that into the comments after the end of the stream. So good morning to the lovely Melanie. Hello, my lovely. I hope you're well. I still have some baking things for you I need to get to you. Maybe before Christmas, we'll see. And you can, we're going to be eventually decorating this very traditionally with a marzipan or an almond paste, and then a roll out a sugar fondant paste, or you can do it with royal icing, but we'll be doing that sort of around about the 13th of December, I think I've got it planned in for. But this is, like I say, it's a 6-inch cake, but it's easily scaled up. And actually, this is a recipe that's been passed down for me through my generations, through my grandmother, my mother, and then also through one of my mum's friends from this amazing tome, which is a Mrs. Beeton, I think, Household Management, which was first published in 1861. And these are her recipes for Christmas cake. And whilst I was looking, I also found these amazing handwritten notes on how to, for the original owner of this book, of how they made their Christmas cake. So this recipe is really basic. It doesn't change much over the years, but there's a few bits and pieces that I've picked up from Mrs. B, from my grandmother, and from the original owner of this book. It's great. I keep finding little notes as I go through it. So yeah, if anyone's got any sort of Mrs. Beeton's Household Management in the loft, might want to give it a try. Good morning to Louise in Devon, my lovely, lovely Louise, and everybody down there. Hope everybody is well. Just before we get off, what's it? We'll get that some peppermint mocha cookies. they they sound amazing, and I bet they smell amazing too. Please do let me know how they get a go. And yes, we will catch up. We'll make it. We'll make it. So this is what we're making. This cake here actually is the mince pie brandy buttercream cake that's over on the blog, using the mincemeat that we made on Wednesday. I've totally lost track of days. But this, we can also, if you want to, and we'll talk about it when we get to decorating, you can also, if you want to, go for a buttercream route things. So let's take a look at our ingredients. Now, I popped these up over in the course of the week, so if you guys were wanting to bake along, you can do, but we've got a mixture of fruits. So there's in here, I've got currants and raisins, sultanas. I've got some cranberries for a little bit of punchy, juicy berryness in there as well. We've got good old Glace Cherries in here, and the mixed peel, the orange and lemon mixed peel. You can use more expensive ingredients if you want to. These are just supermarket brand ones. And you know what? We've then mellowed this out in a bit of brandy overnight, and they've plumped up, just giving it a little shake every now and then. So I can see they've pretty much absorbed everything that we need to. If you don't want to do this with brandy, you can soak your fruit in an orange juice instead. And some people suggest actually a bit of orange juice and a bit of brandy in your mix there. So then, on top of this, which has been soaking last night, we're also going to be using some plain flour. No self-raising flour here, just plain flour, because we want that sort of, it holds everything together. We have a tiny little bit of baking powder that I may or may not add in. Depends how I feel, and that can just help give it a little bit of a lift there. We've also got spice-wise, we've got some mixed spice and some nutmeg, which we'll be popping in. We've got some butter. This, again, is slightly salted. If you're using unsalted, just a pinch of salt in there. I'm going for a dark Muscovado sugar, a really deep, treacly flavour. You can use a light Muscovado sugar or a light soft brown sugar if you prefer, and we'll talk about sugar when we get to that. And because I want that really deep, rich, sort of really dark Christmas cake, I'm going to be adding a little bit of a black treacle as well. And again, you don't need to add the black treacle if you prefer a lighter fruit cake, but for this one we're going nice and rich and dark, so the dark Muscovado and the black treacle. You're also going to want a couple of eggs, just 2 of, and I've had these at room temperature, so they're nice and ready to go. And I think that's it. These are just the fruits that I used on Wednesday when we were making mincemeat, so I bought a bag of each of these. And I have plenty left, so actually by the time I've made this, and I'm going to make a little bit more mincemeat. So I'm just going to pop these to one side because we don't need them anymore. Who else have we got joining us? Good morning, Amita and your beautiful family. Hello, my lovely. Oh, I'm so glad everybody's joining. If you are making Christmas cake, please do let me know. Not many people have Christmas cake anymore. I must admit, we don't tend to have it very often unless I'm making it. I know we've got family and things. My mum loves fruitcake, so and so does my stepdad and things, and my brother. So we've got everything here then as well. So I'm just going to run through what equipment you need. Now, this is, again, it's a really simple recipe. We're just going to be doing most of the blending in the stand mixer with the paddle attachment. You can use a handheld mixer if you prefer. If you really want to give yourself a good arm workout and get involved, is doing it with a big wooden spoon and a big bowl. But we're going with the hand mixer. The stand mixer. You're also going to want your tin, a loose base tin if you can. Make it easier for getting in and out. This is a 6-inch one. It's quite heavy gauge. But we're going to be covering this in brown paper on the outside, and we're going to be putting a double layer on the inside as well. And that's all because our cake is going to be in the oven for this size about 3.5 hours. As you go up bigger for an 8-inch cake or more, you're looking at 4 to 5 hours, if not longer. And again, that will depend on the depth of your cake. And so to protect that and protect it whilst it's baking, we're going to wrap it with the baking parchment there. And we're going to do that first in a moment. I forgot the lemon. Hold on. Oh. I forgot my lemons. Yes, silly sausage. You're also going to need a lemon. We're going to zest a lemon in here. Oops, we can't get it out. So you want an unwaxed lemon for zesting as well, and therefore you're going to need something to zest it with. You can either use the fine side of a grater, a zester, or these microplanes are amazing. This one, as I said on Wednesday night, was just £2 from Aldi, and it's great for just taking off the zest of the lemon and not the pith. You're going to need obviously some spatulas and some spoons, but you're also going to need some baking parchment. Let's just move my coffee so I don't spill it. And something to tie it with when we do it round, or you can use a paper clip or similar. So let's get this prepped first, and then we can get on with the cake. This is the fiddly bit, so we can get it out of the way. When you're baking your cake, then we're going to prep it. So we're going to line the sides of our tin, and we're also going to line the base of our tin. And then we're going to wrap the outside as well. So I'm just going to figure out where that is. And just pop that there. So we've got a long piece of our baking parchment, and like I said, we're going to double line this. So fold it in half. So your double line, and then we want it actually to stick up above our cake tin. Again, it all helps with this, keeping it nice and in control whilst it's baking. So this is quite high. Oops. This is quite high on here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over the bottom so this gets a nice seal. Just fold over the bottom there. And then with my scissors, I'm just going to snip. Now, lining the baking tin is huge, sort of must do really, especially with a fruitcake, because what we don't want to do is be catching or burning the sides. It's quite rich as it is, so if we get, if the sides catch or they burn or they're too cooked, they're going to just they're not going to taste very nice. So it is a key step. Don't be tempted to skip it out. So I've now got my baking parchment here and my tin, and I'm just going to fold it all round. Oops. I might have a bit too much, that's fine. I can trim some and I can use that to line the base. That's not a problem. Could have done that before I snip the bottom, however. So in it goes, and so I can see the little throngs, like the little fingery things that we've cut there, just sticking up. So that's fine. And what's going to happen is when your mix goes in, it will flatten it all down. So don't worry too much. And then for our base, let's just get rid of that bit. Then I want a circle to go in the bottom. And I'm just going to fold this square then into half and half again. And then I can cut an arc out and have two circles of paper, which I can just put in the bottom. Remember, I said that will all level out. Oops, a few bits just sticking out. That's fine. And it will all level out and squish down when we put our mix in. So that's the inside of our cake tin ready. The next bit we'll do when we've got everything in, because it's easier, is we're going to wrap some more paper around the outside. So for the moment, I'm just going to put this to one side. Okay then, time to start our cake. Now, Stir Up Sunday was traditionally back in Victorian days about making your Christmas pudding. When everybody would get together, you'd make the Christmas pudding, and you'd all have a good stir, because it's really heavy to stir Christmas pudding. Then you'd make you cook your Christmas pudding, which is traditionally cooked in advance and then reheated at Christmas. But it also aligns with the last Sunday before Advent. And what happens is you have four Sundays of Advent before Christmas, and this is the last one. So it can depend. This day is not a set. It is the 22nd of November. It moves depending on where Christmas falls that week into that week in terms of where it will fall. So this year we still have one Sunday left in November, which is next weekend, and then we're into December. But December only has 3 Sundays before Christmas. So that's why it feels a little earlier in the calendar this year. But today is Stir Up Sunday. And there's no real history. I mean, we talked about mincemeat on Wednesday and the history behind that, and how it had originally been a meat pie and it evolved, and everything, and the sweetness added. But there's no real history behind a Christmas cake. It's more was originally around a 12th night cake, which we'd eat after Christmas itself, to celebrate the arrivals of the 3 kings. And also to bring you luck for next year. But Mr. Oliver Cromwell, as we found out about the mince pies, wanted to ban everything. He thought it was all a bit too frivolous. So he banned 12th night cake, and we just decided to move the Christmas cake a bit further forward and actually have it on Christmas Day. Christmas cake as well it was really adopted by the Victorians, who sort of saw it as a gift to people, and you could, but the picture, weddings and christenings and things like that, because it keeps really, really well. So if you were having people over the festive period, in the Victorian period, you could make a Christmas cake in advance, and you could then serve it to your guests without any fear of it spoiling. You know, if you did that, if we baked a sponge cake well in advance, a couple of days it's gone. So that's where they're coming from with this. But it's, it's a tradition that not many people still do or eat, or most people now just buy it from the supermarket. And yeah, you can do, especially if it's just one of you. But there's something very Christmassy, very warming and cozy about getting all this lot out. The smells in here already are amazing. So yes. But anyway, that's enough waffle. If you do have a Christmas cake, or you've got any traditions around your Christmas cake, please do obviously let me know. But let's get started with this. So we're going to then need all of the rest of our ingredients, and we're going to do this very generally like we normally would do with a cake, and that is creaming our butter and our sugar. So we've got 110 grams in here of slightly salted butter at room temperature. Remember, room temperature butter, it helps, just helps everything get really nice and fluffy and combine really well together. Fridge cold butter doesn't cream very well with the sugar. It gets quite lumpy, or it takes a while to get going. So always start with room temperature butter. We're then going to need our sugar, and as I said, I'm using a dark Muscovado sugar. This is really soft and it's actually quite moist, rather than a caster sugar. That whole thing that we're talking about of our keeping our Christmas cake and it being there and it over the festive period and it's staying all together. It's partly because the sugar is hygroscopic, it retains the moisture, so it helps give our cake a richer, moist flavour, and it doesn't dry out as quickly as if you're using a caster sugar. So if you can use a soft sugar, like a Muscovado, a dark or a light brown sugar, that's your best bet. And if you feel the sugar, if you feel caster sugar and you feel like a soft sugar, you'll notice the soft sugar is a bit more malleable, a bit more pliable, and actually feels a little bit damp. So if you've opened a box of soft sugar, you'll notice that it's usually just all clumped together in one lump. So we've got our Muscovado sugar and our butter, and we're just going to, oops, she says, needing to turn on. We're just going to now cream that all together. At the beginning, as I said, you don't have to use a dark sugar if you don't want to. I'm looking for a really rich, deep, dark flavour to here. So I've got the dark sugar, and I'm also going to be adding a little bit of Black Treacle in that as well. But if you want to, if you want a lighter fruit cake, which a lot of people do have nowadays, you can swap this just for a light brown sugar, soft light brown sugar, or a light Muscovado as well. And it will, and admit the Black Treacle. The Black Treacle you don't need to add if you don't want to. So give it, as you all normally would, give it a scrape down, and we'll go again on a little bit higher now. So Black Treacle, if you're using it, or molasses, if you can't get Black Treacle. We're only going to be needing a tiny little bit. Just going to whip this, and what we're doing is we're bringing that air into our whipped buttercream. I have a Facebook user that says good morning. I think it might be Kim, but if it is, hello, good morning. You're obviously in the Facebook group, so it doesn't come through. What we're looking for now is that toffee, caramelly sort of look of the butter. It will go like Mel's mocha, like the mocha colour of a latte if it's paler. Give it a good stir. This bit you can do in a bowl with a wooden spoon or with a hand mixer. I'm just gonna. There we go. Let's have a look. I'm going to give it a little bit longer, just to make sure we've got all that sugar beat in. So this is how our butter and sugar is looking, at the moment. Like I say, that brown, toffee, mockery sort of colour. I think some people might call it latte. So I was talking to someone the other day about is Black Friday this week, Thanksgiving for the States. If anyone is looking or has a KitchenAid or a Kenwood's K-Mix or a Chef on their Christmas list, you'll find there's so many good deals. There is the usual Amazon, but you'll also find places like Lakeland have got a great deal on as well. And KitchenAid themselves are this year if you buy direct from them. So we've creamed our butter and our sugar. We're now going to add our eggs, and we're also going to add our black treacle. So I'm going to try and get the lid off without, oh, I should have done this. There it goes. Oh, this stuff is amazing. Not to figure out. So we're just going to put a little, I'm using a normal teaspoon rather than a measuring teaspoon, just because it's easier to get this out. So it's about 1/4 of a teaspoon that we're just using in here. I'm just going to, and everybody knows if you use this stuff or golden syrup, how nightmarish it is to get through. So we've just got a little bit, a teaspoon, 1/4 of a teaspoon of black treacle there. And then we're going to add our eggs in one at a time and beat through well. So room temperature eggs, 1. And that's off it goes. And it may look like it curdles. If it does, don't panic. We can add a little bit of flour to bring it together, but it's fine. So that's egg number 1. And I'm just going to take that off because the mixer was in the wrong place. And egg 2. And whip that through. There we go. And it's all just coming together. That's the egg, the butter, the sugar, and the black treacle. Okay, that's got a little bit of a split on, and like I say, don't worry, it happens when the egg and the butter combine. So before we go any further, because what I'm going to do is add this to our fruit, I'm just going to pop a little pinch of the flour, just half a tablespoon in, just to help bring that together. Okay, so that's there, that's ready. And if you're doing this in a big mixing bowl, what you can do now is fold your fruit in to it by hand. We are going to add our fruit into the stand mixer just a little bit at a time and then gently fold it through. So in here we've got our raisins, our sultanas, our cherries, and our mixed peel and our cranberries. So adding a little bit, a cup at a time, and just fold that through. All that brandy juice or the orange juice, whatever you use. I can see the fruit has plumped up. Now, some people say you don't need to soak your fruit the night before. Ooh. And that's entirely up to you. Most fruit nowadays is a lot fresher, a lot plumper for dried fruit. It tends to have a lot more moisture in than they did many years ago when my granny was making fruit cake for us. So I'm just going to finish off with that. Let's make sure we get it all in. All the juice. And an escape currant. And bring it all together. So this is actually now, can look quite a bit of a sticky mix because we've got the butter, the sugar, the eggs in there, the treacle. We've also got all the juices from the fruit and the brandy that we had. So it can look quite wet, but don't worry because we've still got the flour to add to bring it all together. So let's give it a scrape down and I'll give you a look. So this is what we're at with now with our fruit, butter, sugar, everything else in there. So, yay! What we'll first do now before we add any more is we're going to preheat the oven. This bakes on a lot lower than you would normally bake a sponge cake. It's like I say, it's a low and slow bake. This one for about 3.5 hours. So we're going to pop our oven on to 140 degrees C. And I will find out what that is in Fahrenheit. 140. And we're going to bake in the middle, on the middle shelf there. So also if you're using, like I said last week, somebody asked about top and bottom heat. We want a really good even bake on this. So if you are using different heat placements, you want top and bottom and place your cake in the center to get that all round bake. So whilst that's preheating then, we can finish off our cake mix. And in here we've got then our plain flour. This I sifted last night so we can just add it in. Add it in a little bit at a time. And our baking powder, which I've decided to add. And we've also got then our spice mixes. So we're using nutmeg and mixed spice. You can, and some people also suggest to add the same and a little touch of cinnamon. They are then representing of the gold, frankincense and myrrh, and also brings us back to that 12th night cake. But I'm just adding 1/4 teaspoon of each. So that was the nutmeg, and this is the mixed spice. In that goes. There. And I'm just going to fold this through by hand. We don't want to over mix this bit, so take it off the stand mixer unless you're making an absolutely massive cake. Just doing the flour is fine to mix this in by hand. So I've got my spices and my flour in there. I'm going to add a little bit more flour. And fold this through again. We're nearly there. So Christmas cake is a relatively easy cake to make. It is just very simply the creaming of the butter and the sugar there, and the and adding the eggs, whisking the eggs through before adding your fruit and everything. And things that I said at the beginning, it's a hint from my family and from the Mrs. Beaton book and all sorts, is just getting those key things, is not being too eager to get it done. Letting your butter and your sugar really combine, become really nice and creamy, and that latte chocolatey colour as well. Things like that, and just taking a little bit of care and a little bit of love with the flour side of things, because it is a dense, heavy mix. So we've got the last of our flour then, in it goes, and fold through. So this is sort of where the stir up Sunday, if you were making a Christmas pudding, came from, because it's quite, if you're making a pudding, it's quite a stodge, heavy mix. So everybody would gather around and have a good stir of the Christmas pudding mixture before it was cooked, ready. And every stir brings good luck. Everybody have a stir and make a wish. There. It also is in the Advent readings as well. So this smells amazingly like Christmas. It's got that toffee from the dark Muscovado and the treacle and the fruit and the brandy, and then we've got the nutmeg and the allspice, the mixed spice coming through. It smells immense. So we have here, this is our Christmas cake mix, and this is now just going to get ready to go. Once I've done the last thing, and I keep forgetting this little dude, is adding a little bit of lemon zest in as well. We've got candied peel in there with the orange and the lemon. You could use like the more sweet candied, the more expensive ones that you can get, rather than the stuff in the tub from the supermarket, which is what's in here. If you want a little bit more of a fruity flavour. But we have this. So all we're going to do is just zest this. I'm using a micro plain zester. Like I say, this is just a cheap one from Aldi, but it's really great. The surface of it has very low sort of grating surface, which means it's just going to take off the top layer that we want. We don't want that yet, the white layer of the pith, because it's quite bitter. We're just looking for this nice lemony zesty bit here. So, and these are great. You don't need a lot. You just wipe it over the top almost. I'm putting no pressure on here whatsoever, and I absolutely love it. I think this was like £2 or something when I bought it. It's fantastic. And it also means then that you can still use the lemon in a G&T. Just obviously it's got no zest on it. But yeah, don't go too far. We just want that nice yellow zest, not the pith. You can add, if you want to, you can add orange zest as well as the lemon at this point, or you can add both, or one or the other. We're going just with the lemon. Right, okay, let's just get the last of them, get it all out. There we go. And pop that back in the fridge then, and just stir through our lemon zest. If you want to, you can change the fruits up a little bit. You don't have to stick with the old currants and raisins and sultanas mix. I've added cranberries in here, but you can add pieces. You could go a little bit tropical and use some dried pineapple, some coconut. I'd probably avoid mango, because dried mango, because it goes quite jelly-like. But you could, instead of soaking in brandy, you could soak in rum then as well. So you can get tropical fruit mix. I think things like with papaya in there as well, which I did years ago, and it smells amazing as well, just slightly different. And you switch more the deep old spices for more sweeter ones, so a bit more cinnamon in there as well, a little bit of star anise and things like that, just to help lift those flavors. So we are now ready to finish off preparing our tin. Our oven is up to temperature. Like I say, it doesn't take long to do it because we're only baking at 140. So in our prepared tin earlier, we have our double lined wall here and the 2 in the bottom. And now I'm just going to scoop this. It's the easiest way rather than pouring in. Into our tin. That thud of the fruit hitting the base of the tin is has so many sort of memories, sort of doing this with my grandmother and stuff. So I'm just going to now just give it a push down before I add any more in. So it's quite a thick mixture. It's thick. It's really, there's more fruit than batter. So unlike a normal sponge cake where we pour it in and it should self-level to a point, this needs a little bit of encouragement to do so. So let's get that all in there. Pop that out of the way. Straight currant. And then just give it a push down again. Like I say, if you don't want to use brandy, you don't want to be alcoholic in this, you can soak in orange juice instead. And I think, like we're saying with the mincemeat on Wednesday, there's some amazing festive orange juices out there. Marks and Spencer's do a clementine one, which I think has a little bit of passion fruit in as well. So if you're doing that, if you're doing a tropical fruit version, that would be really immense in your cake as well. And now I'm just, because we're going to be icing this later, we want to get it as flat as possible. So I'm just running over with the top with the spoon and leveling it off like we would normally with a cake as best as we can to get it all set down. And I say that's push that paper out so it's all nice and secure in there. Let's see if I can, there we go. Oh, there's our Christmas cake ready to go. But like I said, just 2 more things before we pop them in the oven. And that is, we're going to wrap the outside of our tin as well in some more baking parchment. People used to do this, things like newspaper and all sorts. But we're just gonna we don't get a newspaper, so we're using baking parchment and also inks and prints and stuff. And I'm going to fold this into, I'm probably going to into 4. I want a nice good layer of it around. So fold it up 4 times there, or 3 and a bit. And we've got our tin sticking out up over the top. So when that's ready, I'm just gonna. It feels like a lot of work for a cake. Don't feel fooled. It's all necessary. Can I get a baking sheet out without? cooking the lights off everything. There we go. I'm going to pop this onto a baking sheet anyway, but you can bake straight onto your shelf. So with this, you can, my granny used to secure it with a paper clip, or if you've got some baker's twine, a couple of wraps with that is perfect. So oops. This is where I could do with a second pair of hands. It's gone again off the end. The fiddly bit. So maybe my granny and her paperclip was the best idea. Rather than wrapping it and then tying with baker's twine. But we're going to get a good knot there to hold everything in place. So we're double layered on the inside, we're double layered on the bottom inside, we're triple layered here on the outside, and then the very, very last thing we need to do is give him a little hat. And again, use a double layer. The double layer is always, because it's going to be in there for quite a while, and we want to do everything we can to protect the cake whilst it's baking. So again, we're going to make our circle by taking our parchment and folding it in half, and half again. I'm going to make a slightly bigger one than we did on the bottom, because we're going to use it more as a hat. Once we've cut our circle arch out, we're also going to cut a little steam hole in the top, and that's so because we're going to lay this on, but it just gives any moisture and air chance to escape through the thing. Now I'm going to place this in, but not directly on top, because my fan is going to blow it away. Not directly on top of the cake. Don't want to sit it straight on top of the cake, because then that's going to bake, the cake's going to bake into that. So just by wedging it as a little hat in there on the top. So this is our Christmas cake all wrapped up. Double layer, triple layer, double layer on the bottom inside, and then a double layer with the little hole in the top there. So now this is going into this preheated oven. This is preheated at 140 degrees C. It's going to be going in now for 3.5 hours, low and slow. Always. There we go, and we're going to just pop him in then on our middle shelf. So I might need to just move the shelf around. Let's have a look. Yes. Moving a shelf there just because I know he's going to be a bit too tall. And that's him in. So 3.5 hours then. What I'm going to do is I will turn this about every hour. So I'm going to put him on for 60 minutes. And the reason why I turn it is I know that this oven has a hot spot right in the back corner on the left. And I don't, if when I bake, if I don't turn, I get a funny angle or more cooked, more baked top back left corner. So 60 minutes and I'll turn it. I'll do another 60 minutes and turn again, a quarter of a turn all the way through, and then the last sort of 30 minutes. So this is a 6-inch cake, 3.5 hours in the oven. So that is pretty much all we can do for our Christmas cake at the moment. Once it's baked, what we'll do is we'll leave it to cool in the tin. Good 30 minutes cool in the tin first. Let it finish off all its baking. It's still gonna be doing a little bit in there. And then I'm gonna lift it out onto a wire rack to cool, but I'm still gonna leave that paper on for the moment. Once it's cooled, I'm gonna turn it over so we've got the bases on the top, and I'm gonna prick that with a skewer, bamboo skewer, so I've got a nice size hole, and then drizzle over a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons of brandy or whatever you are feeding your cake with. If at this point now you're not using alcohol in it and you're using an orange juice, don't feed it with anything fresh, because it's not going to help. It's not going to help preserve. That's basically what the alcohol is doing. Apart from the fact that it's boozy, it's going to help preserve the cake, which keeps it longer. So if you're using if you've used fruit, wrap it well, seal it up. So we double wrap it in some more baking paper or any that you've got left over, and then cover it in foil, and then we're going to pop it into an airtight container, and it's going to stay there until we're ready to decorate it in a few weeks' time. So then let's just have a quick recap, because this is pretty much all we've got. The recipe-wise then, we've made a Christmas fruitcake, a traditional Christmas fruitcake, and we've gone for a really deep, dark flavour on this one. And we've made a 6-inch cake, which can be easily scaled up. I'll pop how to scale up your cake into the description after this. It's really simple, same ingredients, just different quantities of them, obviously, and a longer bake time. Christmas cakes take a long time to bake, so this isn't one if you're in a rush and you need to go out or you need to do anything like that. This is a nice, slow, steady Sunday bake. So now it's in, I can put my feet up, I have a cup of coffee, watch a little bit of telly, clean up, which is the main thing there. So you need to have some time to do it. But we make this ahead so we can feed it, and then it's all nice and ready for icing. And like I say, we're going to be decorating this cake around about the 13th of December. We're going to be going with an almond paste and then a sugar paste on the top. So we'll be covering that off later once our cake's had time to mature and feed. There. It's also, like I say, it's really easy to give a little bit of a twist on this. If you want to, you can switch some of the fruits out for something a little bit more tropical, a little bit of pineapple, papaya in there, a little bit of coconut as well, and switch with a rum and add a touch more cinnamon into the mix to bring up all that sweetness. So this has been it. We're so let's just have a run through of our ingredients again. Currants, sultanas, raisins, the 3 main dried vine fruits that we tend to have with a Christmas cake. Like I said, you can switch those out. You also find, if you're not a fan of currants, are the smaller fruits, so help bring it really packed full of fruit. But if you're more of a sultana fan, we prefer raisins, you can switch those quantities around. So you can switch for more sultanas if you want to, or raisins, etc. I've got some cranberries in there, some dried cranberries, which really give it a really ruby sort of berry flavour as well when you hit upon those. And you've got good old Glace Cherries and mixed peel in as well. I soaked mine in brandy, but you can soak it in sherry, in whiskey, or in a rum, or in orange juice if you want to do a non-alcoholic version. If you're using whiskey, I will say just use a normal sort of everyday sort of whiskey. Because think about how it is. Ian has things like the Shetland whiskies, and they're really, really peaty. And I did that years ago. I made a Christmas cake with Talisker, and it's got a real deep, peaty flavour. And whilst he absolutely loved it, for me it was just like, no, I'm sorry. tasted too much if you're not a fan of whiskey. So just go with a regular whiskey off the shelf, like a Bell's or Scotch or something like that, and things. If you want to add nuts, you can add nuts, either Brazil nuts or almonds. I am nut free, so hence there's no nuts in here, and I switch those out for the cranberries as well. So you can mix those up, but Brazil nuts and almonds tend to be the main ones. Some people put toasted chopped hazelnuts in instead as well. We're using just a regular plain flour. I added a pinch of baking powder, and you can do, but there's that, it doesn't need it. We use the ground nutmeg and the mixed spice for our spices. If you're going with a more fruity flavour, you can add a little bit of cinnamon in there as well. Now, sugar-wise, I used a dark Muscovado sugar with the Black Treacle. That's because I'm looking for that really deep, dark, rich cake. If you want a lighter fruit cake, switch the sugar for a light soft brown sugar or a light Muscovado and leave out the Black Treacle. Butter as always, eggs, and like I said, we've just got a little bit of lemon zest in there at the end, but you can add orange zest as well. And equipment wise, it's really quite simple. It's a stand mixer or a handheld mixer or a bowl and your good old arm power with a wooden spoon. Your baking tin, you say I've used a heavy gauge one because it helps protect the cake a little bit more, but you can use a normal baking tin. Just make sure that we're wrapping it well. So we've got that baking parchment, the double layer around the outside and on the bottom, and also protected it around the outside of the cake and gave them a little hat on the top. If you, I don't think you can see it, but it's quite a tall guy in the baking away. So that's it. It's really that simple. Christmas cake, it's Christmas pudding, whatever you're making today for Stir Up Sunday. I hope you have a lot of fun. I hope it smells really Christmassy at home as well. We've taken a walk around the village here and it is covered. Everybody has started Christmas. The magic of Christmas is already here. Everybody's got their Christmas decorations outside. There's reindeers and snowmen and stars and trees and all sorts. And everybody's, we walked last night and everybody, you see people in their windows putting the trees up, and after what this year has been, it feels so cozy and lovely and happy. So I think ours will be going up soon as well. I'm sure, probably next weekend. But then I will pop everything onto the blog in the coming week if you are not ready to make your cake yet, but you have all the ingredients listed in the here. But remember, you can go and find everything. Oh, it's over there, down on the blog. Oh no, that's me. You want the website there. You can find everything down there. But then, in the end, this has been a Stir Up Sunday. If you're making Christmas cake or Christmas pudding, I hope you have lots of fun today with your family. Next week, we're going for a Black Forest cheesecake. So we're going for another dessert, another really deliciously easy dessert that you can make for Christmas Day or over Christmas, and you can make it ahead. So that'll be a no-bake Black Forest cheesecake, which I really can't wait for because it's going to be really rich. But in the meantime, wherever you are in the world, as always, I hope you are safe and well. Look after yourselves and each other, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.